May I ask everyone to hold your breath for 20 seconds. Thank you. Excellency, Honorable Chief Guest, top scientist, Secretary of IPPC. We have also heads of regional UN regional organization, Dr. Dejan Singh of UNEP, and so many other distinguished participants here. But we have also a lineup of distinguished panelists, and I'm going to give them more time. So I'll keep my talk rather short so that they would have enough time to share their thoughts and their views. Now, Sagarmatha, you would have heard in Nepali, it means many things. It's often described as the goddess of the earth, also the pig of heaven, and so on. It's also known as Jomolungma, and Jomolungma means mother goddess of the world in Tibetan. So when you sit in front of even the model, 3D model of Sagarmatha, you feel the hope and the inspiration. Now imagine if you're so close there. And we are talking about, right now we can still see quite a bit of snow. But the fact is snow is disappearing. And one of the reasons is what we are going to talk about. The deposits of black carbon, dust particles, that is changing the snow albedo, that is heating up the snow and the ice, storing the heat, and accelerating the melting. So this is something I would like all of you to remember. So we are talking about the third pole. Now I'm not going to repeat all the importance of the third pole, the water towers of the world and so on, but suffice it to say that what happens here affects everywhere. We already talked about the triple planetary crisis, the climate change, biodiversity, pollution, so I'm not going to repeat that either. Air quality in the Hindu Kush Himalayas, the massive impact on climate and health and beyond. I'm very happy that the WHO regional director is here and we'll be hearing more from him on that. But the fact is so essential to our survival that we can't even survive few minutes without it, and yet it is not getting the kind of importance that it deserves. And where does it feature in SDGs? Actually, access to clean air should have been #1 goal of the SDGs. Without air, you can't survive even for a few minutes. With water, you can survive for it. Without water, you can survive for a few days. Without food, maybe even a week. But without air, I don't know how many of us could survive for a few minutes. News coverages, I think I don't need to repeat the air quality, kind of air quality we have in our region, Bangladesh, India, Bhutan, Nepal, you name it. You all have the same kind of poor air quality. Forest fires, again, seasonal, but very, very, I think, important causes of air pollution. This few months ago, or a few weeks ago even, we have widespread forest fires throughout the Himalayas, in Nepal, in Bhutan. And where do the embers land up? They end up on the mountain peaks, in the mountains, and come back to us in the form of poisonous water or poisonous air. So, impacts of the air pollution in the Hindu Kush Himalaya, again, I think some of the things that we do not directly connect is its impact on altering the monsoon rainfall patterns. And this is very serious, and I think we need to give much more attention to do more research on that. Then I already talked about its impact on accelerating the melting of glaciers. And of course, something that we again do not connect is its impact on the agricultural productivity, crop productivity. See, crops need to photosynthesize, and if they are covered by dust and black carbon, they do not have that capacity to produce higher yields. So that is something, again, very important. And sometimes we would have heard that flights are cancelled, schools are closed. Why? Because quality is so bad. So the economic losses are also quite substantial. No, I will not repeat that. PM 2.5, sometimes that was almost hitting sometimes the record. Probably, I don't know whether it is factual or not, but sometimes it hits even 500 micrograms. Imagine that. And you look at the WHO standards, 5 micrograms. So we are way, way above the permitted level. Public health issue, I won't touch that because everybody knows that is one of the, most, I think, the most serious cause for public health, and it's something that we don't see is a slow killer. I think every one of us breathing in, bad air is actually breathing in poison. So eventually, I think this is the number one killer if you put everything together. Immediate challenges to address air pollution. We lack real-time data, ground-based monitoring, especially in our area, in the Gangetic Plains and Himalayan foothills. We, as I mentioned, lack the recognition of pollution as a problem because it affects everybody, but no one in particular. So we say, okay, it's not my problem, it's everybody's problem. And everybody's problem is left to everybody, and no one takes care of it. So that is the situation. So we also have significant policy gaps, not only in monitoring and in research, but also seriously in implementation of some of the things that we can already do. We see the forest fires causing pollution, but what do we do? You say, okay, after a few days, that forest fire will be controlled, then we forget about it. We look at the transport sector, okay, it's polluting, but we don't see that much, so we don't really take that into account. So ECMOD's efforts, together with our partners, I'm very glad that our key partner in this effort, the World Bank, is here represented by AJ and her team, as well as with other development partners. We're looking at how we can address this very, very important issue that we are facing. So placement of air quality observation sites, I think, is very, very important, and we have been supporting several of our member countries. Pollution doesn't stop at our borders, neither on the borders of our cities, nor on the borders of our states or provinces, nor on our national borders. So we have to take an air-shared approach. So the source may be somewhere else, but the sink or the impact will be elsewhere. So we need to connect the sources and the impact areas. So we have already started training of air quality monitor scientists from our region so that they could come up with a standard system, standard method of data collection, processing, analysis, and also interpreting, so that what is collected here in Nepal, the people in Bhutan could make sense out of it, when what is collected there also could be interpreted here. So that is, I think, the first step, and we are making good progress with that. And then we had now 2 rounds of science policy dialogue. The first one in Kathmandu, we came up with the Kathmandu roadmap for air quality improvement in the Indo-Gangetic Plain and Himalayan foothills. So we drew up this roadmap, and then we had the second one that was in 2022. And the second one we had in Bhutan last year. And there we came up with the Thimphu outcome, that is translating that roadmap into actionable areas of intervention. So we are now planning for the 3rd science policy dialogue, and including financing it, because these 3 has to go hand in hand. So progress so far, what we have made is that we have established a technical committee, technical coordination committee of the top scientists working in this area from all the member countries, starting from Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Bhutan. So 5 Indo-Gangetic Plains and Himalayan nations are participating in this process. So technical committee, after that, we are going to have 3 working groups. 1 working group on monitoring, so we have a standard monitoring system. second on solutions. So just knowing that air quality bad is not enough. We need to now go ahead with solutions, with actions to solve the issues. The third is on finance. So these three working groups would be established very soon, and we hope that we could have the science policy finance dialogue very soon this year. So I will not repeat this. I think EC mode, its mandate being for mountain people and mountain ecosystems, and as a neutral convener for our countries, regional member countries, to come together and discuss common challenges, including air pollution. We will continue to do that with our partners, both from the region and from outside.
You can test it, you can chew it. When you go outside, you can see the polluted air, but sometimes you don't see its indirect or invisible impact it causes on monsoon or glacier melting, which we don't directly see, but air pollution has multiple aspects and impacts. And he nicely highlighted a lot of initiatives in the region. Looking away from the problem is not a solution, and we need to act, and we need to act now. Thank you, Dr. Pema, for your insights. That have provided very powerful frame for us to discuss in the panel about different aspects of air pollution, made from physical science all the way to mitigation, including finance and other aspects. So in the sake of keeping in mind the running time, so I'm not going to detailed introduction of our panelists. They themselves are prominent figures in the field. So I'll go directly into the panel discussion so that we'll have some time to get some questions from the audience as well. So I'd like to start off with, as you all heard, that air pollution is primarily a health concern, right? So that impacts public health. We heard about its impact on people's health. Globally, about 8 million people die prematurely because of the exposure to bad air quality. This is just about premature death. Its impact on health, disability in terms of sickness. most of the countries, there are health institutions from national level all the way to the village level. In many countries, environmental institutions may not have such a structure from federal level all the way to the village. So there is already existing health system, health structure, infrastructures, institution, all the way from top to the bottom. How can we reposition air pollution as a health issue and health emergency to leverage on this structure? So please.
Thank you. I think it's a lot to address. Thank you, Moderator and Excellency Chair, and good morning to everyone. Namaste. Now, air pollution in South Asia presents a significant public health crisis, as you rightly mentioned, leading to an estimated 2.5 million premature deaths annually and globally over 8 million. Now, this disproportionately affects the vulnerable population in low and middle income countries. Both ambient and household air pollution should be addressed comprehensively to address this public health burden. Now, if we look at the air pollution health nexus in our region, which is really alarming, major health impacts, of course, the exposure to air pollution, various pollutants we already heard from the keynote speakers. Particularly the fine particulate matter, PM2.5, is linked to a wide range of diseases, including respiratory illnesses such as asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and lung cancer, and cardiovascular diseases, including heart attacks, strokes. And in fact, we have enough evidence on the adverse impacts of pregnancy outcomes and low birth weight due to, and also preterm birth due to the impacts of air pollution, and increased risk of diabetes and neurological disorders. And children are particularly vulnerable, facing risks of reduced lung function, respiratory infections, and aggravated asthma. And household air pollution is also associated with reduced height and weight of age of children in countries in Asia, and increased risk of being underweight and stunted in parts of countries in our region. So it has a huge range of implications when it comes to public health. And of course, we have heard about the being one of the leading causes of death. And it's now considered #1 risk factor for death in our region, surpassing the mortality. If we look at it, it's about 41% of all non-communicable diseases. The deaths in the region are somehow linked to the impacts of air pollution. Now, if we look at the economic loss, the crisis translates into a substantial economic burden for the region, countries of the region. And if we measure in terms of GDP, it's estimated to wipe out more than 10% of the GDP annually in our region. And welfare losses due to air pollution in the region estimated to be about 7.5
its components so that we can push the cleaner action in the countries through financial support. So, Anne, you can have your insight.
Great, yeah, thank you so much, and good morning to everyone. It's really an honor to be here, and I really want to thank the government of Nepal and ECMOD also for bringing all of us together to talk about an issue which I would argue is one of the most urgent areas for action in the world, but certainly in this region, right? I mean, I think you've heard that that basically where we are today, what we call the Indo-Gangetic Plain and Himalayan foothills airshed, a single shared body of air that crosses 5 countries, including Nepal, of course, Bhutan, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, is home to the worst air quality in the world, right? So it's bad in many places, but it's really, really, really bad here. And if you're one of the 1 billion people who has the luck to be born here, it means that on average you will die 5 years earlier than if you lived somewhere else. And as a development institution, we believe that that is not acceptable and that that is something where action is needed. So I think what I would like to focus a bit on is the how, yeah? And for us, we see this as an absolutely critical multi-sectoral issue, as you said. Getting the focus of governments, of citizens, of broad civil society on why this is so important and what needs to be done to start to tackle these actions is critical. I think these health numbers are important, but they're not the only things that are important. It's also about kids who cognitively, they test worse. On bad pollution days, children do worse on tests, which means you're having like short-term impacts on cognitive ability, right? We don't even know the biodiversity impacts that are coming. We know that they're bad. We know that pollination rates change, right? We know that productivity of plants shifts, but we don't really understand how. So what are we doing as an institution? We have a priority program in this region, which we call this IGPHF, Indo-Gangetic Plain Himalayan Foothills program. And we work at 2 levels, right? First, we work at the regional level because we recognize that the only way to really take action across a shared airshed is to work in all of the countries and jurisdictions. All of our evidence shows that it's cheaper, it's faster, and it's much more efficient to be working across jurisdictions to tackle air quality. So we have to do activities like this to bring together actors across these shared airsheds to work. And ECMOD has been a great partner for us in that. Thank you so much. One of many, I should say, but definitely a leader. And then we also work with each of the countries. We have programs in each of the 5 countries. We're working on lending activities, right? Because that's how we help countries really understand what plans, what actions, what policies, what investments need to be put in place to reduce pollution in those key areas where air quality, air pollution is most impactful. So that means it's not doing everything, right? It means focusing, for example, here in Kathmandu, on the industries that have polluting boilers, polluting furnaces, right? There's only like 1,200 of them in Kathmandu. What can we do with those industries to accelerate the transition of boiler installation from dirty diesel or biomass boilers to clean electric boilers? That is something that we can do in a series of years that will have direct impact on the air quality of Kathmandu. The same is true. It's what we're doing when we're working in Haryana, what we're working in UP, when we're working in Bangladesh and Pakistan. We're tackling the issues that are most important, that create the biggest health risk through air pollution, and we're helping those jurisdictions understand what to target, how to do the cross-sectoral planning, what to invest in, what policies to put in place, how to monitor it, how to enforce it. It's a whole series of actions, but it needs that regional dimension, needs the national dimension, and it needs all of us in this room to really speak up and shout and say, this is not okay. I don't want to open the window of my hotel. I haven't been in Kathmandu in years. You open the window. You used to be able to see the mountains, right? You look out now, you see dirty air, right? that is something that we as a community can change, but it takes focusing and putting in place action. Just very quickly to finish, I know you have many people, you asked about the climate finance. Just to say that, climate and air are largely two sides of the same coin, but they're not exactly the same, right? So not every climate action has an air pollution action. Not every air pollution action has a climate benefit, but there's a huge overlap. So by understanding where that overlap is, and then driving down and using climate finance to basically target those air pollution actions, that is how we can have the biggest impact to use that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajay. Keeping in mind the time and then the following session on the declaration that we usually start on time. So I would like to request the rest of the panelists to be very precise on their response. I'd like to have Ramal Burma. Clean Air Fund has emerged as one of the key players in terms of supporting not only the science but also other activities for the clean air. So can you please provide some insights, share with us what Clean Air Fund has been doing in the region that we can be aware of, and then maybe we can build on your activities to support the cleaner action in the region. Can you please brief?
Thank you. Good morning, Excellencies and the delegates. Thank you for inviting me, giving me opportunity to participate in this forum. Before I just come to your question, just let me give a little introduction about my organization. So the Clean Air Fund was established in 2019 and Climate Summit, and it's a global philanthropic organization working with the governments, funding agencies, businessmen, business houses, and campaigners. So we have launched a broad, inclusive, clean air movements that advocate the localized solution. So within the few years of time, and within less than 5 years, we have mobilized over $200 million for the clean air actions and solution. We work in 5 geographies, that is the UK, Europe as a whole, India, Ghana, and South Africa. Along with the C40 and other partners, we have launched the Clean Air Breathe City basically initiative, and we have expanded up to 14 cities, including Jakarta and Bangkok in South Asian region. So apart from the geographies and the Breathe cities, our main thematic areas where we work is basically data, health, superpollutant, to which I'm the manager. We engage with the corporate and private sectors and organize the advocacy and campaign. So let me come to your specific question. At the Clean Air Fund, we recognize the air pollution, especially the superpollutant, which we are talking about, like SLCPs, especially the black carbon, which our keynote speakers has highlighted. Basically, black carbon is not only an air quality problem, but also a public health concern and the climate change. So we develop an opportunity for scalable, integrated solutions. Our goal is to catalyze progress by investigating initiatives that are ambitious, collaborative, and locally grounded. We are supporting a range of initiatives that are laying the groundwork for transformative change that include and are scalable in South Asia, across the South Asia. For example, we are strengthening the science base, evidence base and science. We are funding the cutting edge research on black carbon. which include these like addressing the uncertainties in black carbon climate system, like and then addressing the emission estimates, matrix development, including societal cost, direct and indirect effects of black carbon, and then impacts of black carbon on the weather system and the extreme events. Also, the transfer of black carbon to the Himalaya and how it's impacting the overall glacial melting. And then we are also providing support for development of policy scenarios, how the reduction can be done in a scenario-wise. And then also we are trying to putting the money to estimate the health impacts of black carbon relative to PM 2.5. So because we do not know how the black carbon is separate can have the health impacts. So, but other than this, we are also supporting the efforts to integrate existing evidence into regional and national and subnational air quality and climate plan initiative, including the NDCs, to improve the regional coordination and transboundary air pollution, and also funding the projects which are investigating the pilot projects with potential for the replication across the border to showcase the black carbon emission reduction that are possible, and some projects are we intend to implement in the near term, such as the residential heating, off-road transport, and among others. So looking forward, we see the opportunities to scale up through regional collaboration, super pollutants, especially efforts aligned with the tropospheric ozone and black carbon reduction. In the last COP29, we have launched the comprehensive policy brief for the tropospheric ozone. Now we are developing a roadmap
Dr. Burma,
to reduction the.
May I ask you to be brief?
Yes, okay, just finish. So now we are exploring another area, black carbon and the now ozone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Verma. Thank you for highlighting Clean Air Fund's initiatives in the region, and you have amply highlighted that we need ambitious, collaborative, and locally grounded initiatives, and you are supporting those such initiatives in the region. So now I'd like to have Dr. Sharma. We have heard about air pollution impacts on glaciers, health, climate, etc. And on the other hand, we have also heard about forest fires and its impact on air quality in the region, which demands now an integrated approach that will lead to maximum co-benefits, and that's what we urgently need. So can you please highlight some of the aspects of it, especially how the nature-based solution can provide such co-benefits? Dr. Sharma, please.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Government of Nepal and ICIMOD for such a wonderful session today here. Air pollution, we have heard just now, is a big problem in the region, Indo-Gangetic, and we know now the air pollution, because of air circulation, is penetrating and reaching the highest region, mountain areas. So the impact we are already seeing. Two major impacts as I see, because in the region, if we are looking at nature-based solution, two things, biodiversity and ecosystems are vital if we want to look at the solutions. So, but what is happening to these two important areas in terms of climate change and air pollution? They are having a combined effect, and in sometimes we are not able to see what is impacting what. So, but I will try to show you some examples while I'm talking. The Hindu Himalayan region has 4 global biodiversity hotspots out of 36. So whatever happens to this area in terms of biodiversity loss is going to be a loss to the global asset. So I think this is a primary line. And then if we look at the ecosystems or biodiversity in the Eastern Himalaya, already in the assessment we have said 65% with the current rate of biodiversity loss, Eastern Himalaya will be losing by 2100. But with the pollution and climate change happening, that number is likely to go higher. My observation, very much looking into, I have been working in Sikkim and I see oak forests are disappearing. Oak regeneration is not happening. So all these are because of climate change and the situation, pollution, which is happening there. Another big driver of change I see for biodiversity, go to the protected areas in Darjeeling, Silchar Wildlife Sanctuary. The bamboos, which used to be one of the associated species in such a lovely forest, has become a native species, have become a invasive species. It's not an exotic. The native species are becoming invasive. That means it's going to really kill loss of biodiversity. So that is a big worry. Another very important point, if we look at, after the long winters when we have first rain, it has lots of acid rains. So acid rains are going to leach out the nutrients which are required for forests, for agriculture. Biogeochemical cycling of the mountain ecosystems are disrupted because of acid rains, because of pollutants which are deposited in the mountains. So these are really a big concern. Now you said we have to look for a solution. So for a solution, good ecosystem management, biodiversity, knowing biodiversity and trying to see their association and richness is very important. But what I feel very much in terms of air pollution, I think we can't have our many monitoring stations everywhere. So in that context, citizen science is going to be very important. Involve people. The science, as Dr. Pema says, already established. If I have to see air pollutants as indicators, I look at the lichens. I look at smaller organisms, and then I know, okay, which pollutant is here. I can look at the leaf and say, oh, ozone pollution, this is the necrosis because of ozone. So these signs are already available. So with that available science, engage young people, youth, citizens in the mountains, and get that information, and also build their capacity to see. The nature has solution. If I was working a long time ago in a near cement factory and trying to look which species plants are resistant or tolerant for cement dust. And then I could clearly see those species which has more ascorbic acid content is more tolerant. So we know which plants species are going to be tolerant. So in those areas where there is more air pollutants concentrated, we need to bring such plants, species, and plant them, and they can abate those pollutions. So there are many examples. I think from us, we have to look at the nature and see what is there. Nature will itself speak. We have to have good approach of looking at them and looking at the solutions. So that is what I would like to say at this moment, because the topic is so vast, the nature is so vast, I don't know how justice I can do in a very broad way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Verma. I think you nicely justified this within 5 minutes. Topic is so broad, it needs so much work on it. But you nicely picked up highlighting that the biodiversity in dynamics itself is changing in the changing climate. And one of the things I would like to pick up what you said is the Hindu Kush Himalayan region is actually double hit by the climate, global warming and the climate change, as well as air pollution. So that's why we need to look at both air pollution and climate change at the same time as the two sides of the same coin, like AJ said. So having this information, I would like to bring in Dr. Chengong Jiang. We need integrated science-based solutions. So for that, do we see in the region we still have gaps in the evidence base to make science-informed, integrated solutions to address air pollution and climate change? And with the interest of time, may I ask you to be very, very brief to your response? I'm sorry about that.
Okay,
but we're running out of time.
sure. Yeah, I'm honored to be here to share some points. I think when we talk about science, because we said that in science we believe, and science is also the key things that tell us how to do and what to do, right? So in this region, I think there are 3 points. So the first thing is that we know that this air pollution thing is kind of reach to every aspects. So I think about climate change, disasters, and also human health, and also economy, and also urban planning. So I think the first thing is we need to bring multiple different aspects of science together, to work together, to know these air pollution issues. So the second thing is that I think because here we're addressing this air pollution, we need data. And we're not only data to tell about our truth, but also tell what we are doing is correct. So it's kind of mirrors, right? So the last thing is that I think we need cooperation. We need to share experiments. We know that many countries, so dated back in 1950s, so in London, like in Japan, and in US, and most recently in China, we already have the experience to address these air pollution things, very effectively. So that's a lot of experiments and also science generation. So I think we also need this science exchange and experience exchange. I think these are 3 points I want to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zhang. Very precisely highlighting, we need to have a collaboration on science exchange, experience exchange, learning from the good examples, like we highlighted what happened in China over the last decade or so. So there are definitely places where we can learn from. With regards to air pollution, like several of our panelists said, that the air pollution doesn't respect any administrative or the national boundaries, whether it is within the nation or outside the nation. It doesn't need any passport. I think some of us highlighted that. So that requires regional cooperation, because if you look at our region, controlling local air pollution is necessary, but it is not sufficient as we have the transboundary air pollution in the region, whether it's within the nation or coming from outside the nation. So having this information as a background, I would like to get Sonam Tashi to get his insights and from your perspectives, especially from Bhutan with a small local pollution. But how can South Asian countries can strengthen regional collaboration to have joint initiatives to control air pollution in the region?
Thank you, Doctor. I think I'm intellectually challenged since a lot of things have been mentioned already. So, jokes aside, no, I think, let me put it this way, let me rephrase if I may take the liberty. I think one, in terms of collaboration, is quite certain, right? We've heard speakers after speakers, and throughout the last 2 days, people mentioning of collaboration, data sharing. We have to rise above our political pettiness, if I may use the platform to be of free speech over here right now. So I think that's a given fact. But I think what I would like to point out is, see, my country's context and why for us this kind of cooperation is important. In 2018 to 20, IIT, the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and the Tsinghua University of China, I mean, 2 reputed tech institutions in this country, and from what I'm going to say, so both my north and south neighbors can't dispute these, this is research coming from them, is about the impact of transboundary pollution in our region, and then they focused on Bhutan, that study. And there it shows that, and this was a good wake-up call for many Bhutanese out of our stupor that we were high up in the Himalayas protected by forests, just to realize that we can't separate ourselves from the region's problems. So it was interesting in terms of where these 2 universities were mentioning that pollution in Thimphu was about 3 times the WHO average, the micrograms, and then interestingly, post-monsoon, pre-monsoon, during the wet season also, that only about 40% of the time we were within the WHO standards, and in winter there was no days where in Thimphu we were, in a 24-hour period, we were way above the WHO 10 microgram standards and all. So this is interesting about how transboundary emissions, how it takes place. And then this really brings us to a lot of things on, when you talk about cooperation, okay, I mean, besides all this cooperation, dialogue, platform and all, what I just want to highlight is that while we work with, to support each country within the region, we also need to look into the economic dimensions of this transboundary pollution emissions, which I think one of our speakers just before me was mentioning about the multidisciplinary approach, the multi-sector approach we have to take. It has to go beyond the Ministry of Health, which is true, because when you look at air pollution, we just can't see it as an environmental issue alone. It's also about the economy, right? And it brings us to the question of the economy versus ecology debate, how do you manage this air pollution without affecting our industrial competitiveness? How can we cooperate without really affecting the livelihoods of people? Because at the end, the pollution is just not coming out of thin air. It's not a magical wand of Harry Potter. There are economic activities, right? Say vehicle emissions, which I think, say in Thimphu, in Kathmandu, in all our cities, it's the biggest source of emissions. But we must also look at the progress that this is being made. Right? It's a wrong indicator I'm trying to advocate, but then we have to see how can we all cooperate, can we have common vehicular standards. Likewise, in industries and all, take our own country, thanks to some of the oil refineries next to us, in some parts, we do have transboundary emissions that this is being indicated, and it's a wrong indicator. So my country, free of it, we have our own heavy industries. So this is where, again, we need to cooperate not just on health and environment, but also see how in the trade and industry sector, how do we deal with all this. I've heard about short-lived climate pollutants, IPCC gentlemen, and then others were mentioning also. So that's what I think we need to really look into this, and even on nature-based solutions. And I'll conclude this to be really short and to the point. The World Bank Country Economic Environment Analysis did a study, say for Bhutan, saying that we generate about $15 billion worth of environmental services for the region, and half of it is actually not used by Bhutanese but by the region. So these are important studies to know about this, and it could be the same for Nepal, with a much higher environmental services now. But what I'm trying to point out is that we have to have an integrated approach to dealing with all this, and acknowledge that even nature-based solutions, they need some financing, whether we use the markets to do it or whether it's through whatever traditional sources of financing. But we have to look into all this, to deal with the transboundary nature pollution that we have. So I'll stop here for now.
Thank you, Sonam Tashi. Highlighting that air pollution itself has a seasonal dynamics. We need to understand that. And while we're talking about addressing air pollution, we need to have, a holistic approach in understanding, advancing, and guiding clean air solutions. So this is a shared challenge, and which requires a shared solutions. So thank you all the panelists for providing your insights. Since we didn't have the time to provide my summary of the plenary, which I will do in writing and will be available on the website later. So I'd like to jump into inviting Honorable State Minister to deliver closing remarks. Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, the moderator of this session, Dr. Mahaswarupak Khetiju, distinguished guests, panelists, scientists, experts, and friends from media. Namaste and warm greetings to all of you. It is indeed an honor for me to deliver the closing remarks at this vital session, which brought together remarkable voices from global institutions, regional agencies, and national governments to deliberate on one of the most urgent challenges of our time, the interlinked issues of climate change, public health, and air quality. Over the past hour, we have heard from esteemed panelists, including experts from the World Bank, ICMO, WHO, and Clean Air Fund. Their insights have been deeply informative and inspiring. I would like to extend my sincere appreciations to each of them for sharing their knowledge and experience with us. The discussions today made it clear that we must adopt integrated and cross-sectoral approaches to tackle environmental and health challenges. The emphasis on climate resilience, reducing super pollutants, and addressing non-communicable diseases through environmental action is both timely and critical. Nepal, as a country highly vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, understands the gravity of these issues. We are committed to strengthening our policies and partnerships to build healthier, more resilient communities while protecting our rich biodiversity and natural resources. I am also grateful to the moderator, Dr. Maheshwar Rupaketi, for skillfully guiding today's panel's discussion, and to all participants for your active and productive engagement. On behalf of the Government of Nepal and the Ministry of Forest and Environment, I thank all of you once again. Let this discussion serve as a foundation for deeper collaborations and bold action. Together we can and must ensure a cleaner, healthier and more sustainable future for our people and our planet. I thank you all again and dhanyavad, namaste, Jai Nepal.
Thank you, Your Excellency. So now this closes the session.
Very much wonderful session. Very good.
Thank you.
Hello everyone. If I may request everyone to kindly remain seated still. Thank you all to our speakers for your insightful contributions. But before we close, we would like to take a moment to honor our panel for their time and expertise with a token of appreciation. So may I kindly request Honorable Ms. Rupa B.K. State Minister of the Ministry of Forests and Environment, to kindly come up on the stage to present the token of appreciation to the panelists and speakers. May I request Honorable Rupa B.K., State Minister, to kindly present the token of appreciation to our moderator for the session, Dr. Maheshwar Rupaketi. Next, to Dr. Abdullah Mokshit. Then to Dr. Pema Gyamsho. Thank you. And to our panelists, Mr. Sonam Tashi, may I invite you forward. Mr. Eklavya Sharma. Miss Anne Jeanette Glover. Mr. King Jung Jung. Mr. Hussein Rashid. And Mr. Ramlal Verma. Okay. Thank you all so much. I request you to remain standing on the stage for a group photo.
Nepal, home to the Himalayas, the sacred birthplace of Gautam Buddha, a timeless source of wisdom for the world. Here stands Sagarmatha, Mount Everest, the pinnacle of the earth, a symbol of hope, perseverance, and strength. For centuries, this land has believed in the power of dialogue. Today, as humanity faces unprecedented challenges,
the land that carries a mantle of ancient practice of finding solutions through dialogue and patience.
this legacy feels more important than ever. The world needs hope, action, resilience, and above all, the world needs dialogue. It is with this vision that we present Sagarmatha Sambad, Nepal's permanent global dialogue platform.
Mountains, the water towers of our world. For centuries, these glaciers and snow have fed rivers that sustain billions of living beings. Nepal is home to 8 of the tallest mountains in the world, including Sagarmatha, our Everest. These peaks form the heart of the Hindu Kush Himalaya, the third pole. This region is home to 270 million who are dependent on water from these mountains. But this lifeline is breaking. Hindu Kush Himalaya glaciers disappeared 65% faster compared with the previous decade. By 2050, it is expected that we will hit peak water, following which our river flow will begin to decline. For the 1.65 billion people downstream, this isn't a distant threat. It is already here. The transformation is happening at a rapid pace and scale. Glaciers vanishing before our eyes, devastating floods, decline in crop productivity, families displaced, hazardous levels of air pollution. Just in Nepal, in 2024, 250 lives were lost to floods triggered by torrential rains in Kathmandu. A glacial lake outburst flood in Thame erased an entire village. These disasters are not natural. They are climate-driven, and the science is clear. Even at 1.5 degrees Celsius warming, which is too hot for our region, we'll lose 1/3 of glaciers by 2100.
Nepal is on the front lines of the climate crisis. This is climate injustice, unequal and loaded against countries like ours, which have non-significant contributions to global emissions. But our commitment to fighting the climate crisis is unwavering. Nepal has preserved 45% forest cover. 24% of our land is under protected areas, and much of our farming is by default nature-based. Our glacier and snow-fed rivers provide vital ecosystem services to millions downstream. Yet, we are among the hardest hit by climate change.
Let's reshape policies, and not just with urgency, but with equity, compassion, and long-term vision.
हामी स्पष्ट छौं, हिमाल केवल हाम्रो सम्पत्ति मात्र होइन, यो विश्वको जीवन रेखा पनि हो। यिनको रक्षा गर्नु हाम्रो प्राथमिकता हो र रहेको पनि छ।
Glacier melt is accelerating, triggering cascading impacts downstream. Our springs are drying. The climate crisis knows no borders. Its effects are already being felt far beyond the mountains. That's why Sagarmatha Samvad is not just a summit, but a call from the Himalaya to the world. We urge global leaders, scientists, and frontline communities to join hands to demand adaptation and loss and damage financing for the most impacted, like us, and to accelerate the phase-out of fossil fuels in favor of clean, renewable energy. Regional and global cooperation is not a choice, it is a necessity. Climate justice is non-negotiable, and we must act together before it is too late.